He is the fellow who goes to bed so intoxicated he ought to sleep the clock around. Yet early next morning he searches madly for the bottle he misplaced the night before. If he can afford it, he may have liquor concealed all over his house to be certain no one gets his entire supply away from him, to throw down the waste pipe. As matters grow worse, he begins to use a combination of high-powered sedative and liquor to quiet his nerves so he can go to work. I'm using meth now. That's just like switching seats on the Titanic. Then comes the day when he simply cannot make it and gets drunk all over again. Perhaps he goes to a doctor who gives him morphine or some sedative with which to taper off. Then he begins to peer at hospitals and sanitariums. You have a problem. I know, G-Slang's phone keeps going straight to voicemail. This is by no means a comprehensive picture of the true alcoholic, as our behavior patterns vary. But this description should identify him roughly. Why does he behave like this? If hundreds of experiences have shown him that one drink means another debacle with all its attendant suffering and humiliation, why is it he takes that one drink? Why can't he stay on the water wagon? What has become of the common sense and willpower that he still sometimes displays with respect to other matters? Willpower, definition, energetic determination, resoluteness. And the man on the water wagon says, sprinkles water on the path to keep the travelers clean, because the days of horse and carriage, there was a lot of poop on the road and it went up as dust. Perhaps there never will be a full answer to these questions. Opinions vary considerably as to why the alcoholic reacts differently from normal people. We are not sure why. Once a certain point is reached, little can be done for him. We cannot answer this riddle. And neurology says the brain. Psychiatry says it's a chemical imbalance. Theology says it's holy disobedience. And psychology, well, it's the thoughts. Biology says it's hereditary. Occult says it's demons. And alien, well, we built humans that way. Here's the bonus comic, Michael vs. Lucifer. Michael says, you blinded him with lies, and now he can't hear my instruction. And Lucifer says, is it sight or sound? I can't get him to do my bidding either. I don't know who won that debate. We know that while the alcoholic keeps away from drink, as he may do for months or years, he reacts much like other men. We are equally positive that once he takes any alcohol whatever into his system, something happens, both in the bodily and mental sense, which makes it virtually impossible for him to stop. The experience of any alcoholic will abundantly confirm this. He's at the nightclub. Thank God for overdraft protection. I thought I was going to have to quit. These observations would be academic and pointless if our friend never took the first drink, thereby setting the terrible cycle in motion. Definition academic, conventional, theoretical, without having an immediate or practical bearing. Therefore, the main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind, rather than in his body. If you ask him why he started on that last bender, the chances are he will offer you any one of 100 alibis. Sometimes these excuses have a certain plausibility, but none of them make sense in the light of the havoc an alcoholic's drinking bout creates. There's his excuse. My wife cheated on me on the internet, but she's just a porn star. She's not my wife. Once in a while, he may tell the truth. Strange to say, is usually that he has no more idea why he took that first drink than you have. Some drinkers have excuses with which they are satisfied part of the time, but in their hearts, they really do not know why they do it. Once this malady has a real hold, they are a baffled lot. There is the obsession of that somehow, someday, they will beat the game, but they often suspect they are down for the count. They sound like the philosophy of the man who, having a headache, beats himself on the head with a hammer so that he can't feel the ache. If you draw this fallacious reasoning to the attention of an alcoholic, He will laugh it off or become irritated and refuse to talk. There he is smacking himself on the head with a hammer. I don't want to talk about it. Friends like, what the fuck? How true this is, few realize. In a vague way, their families and friends sense that these drinkers are abnormal, but everybody hopefully awaits the day when the sufferer will rouse himself from his lethargy and assert his power of will. The tragic truth is that if the man be a real alcoholic, the happy day may not arrive. He has lost control. At a certain point in the drinking of every alcoholic, he passes into a state where the most powerful desire to stop drinking is of absolutely no avail. This tragic situation has already arrived in practically every case long before it is suspected. The almost certain consequences that follow taking even a glass of beer do not crowd into the mind to deter us. If these thoughts occur, they are hazy and readily supplanted by the old threadbare idea that this time we shall handle ourselves like other people. There is a complete failure of the kind of defense that keeps one from putting his hand on a hot stove. Defense failure, hot stove. The alcoholic may say to himself in the most casual way, "It won't burn me this time, so here's how." Or perhaps he doesn't even think at all. How often have some of us begun to drink in this nonchalant way, and after the third or fourth pounded on the bar, and said to ourselves, "For God's sake, how did I ever get started again?" Only to have that thought supplanted by, "Well, I'll stop with the sixth drink," or "What's the use anyhow?" And here's our guy saying, "What's the use? I'm calling G slang." When this sort of thinking is fully established in an individual with alcoholic tendencies, he has probably placed himself beyond human aid, and unless locked up, may die or go permanently insane. These stark and ugly facts have been confirmed by legions of alcoholics throughout history. But for the grace of God, there would have been thousands more convincing demonstrations. So many want to stop but cannot. There is a solution. Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confessions of shortcomings, which the process requires for its successful consummation. But we saw that it really worked in others, and we had come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we had been living it. When therefore we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not ever dreamed. Shortcomings definition, deficiency defect, self-searching, examination of one's own actions and motives, pride, inordinate self-esteem, conceit.